While the world is fixated on the Israel-Hamas war, where we too have been reporting on the ground, for Indians, the big international story is out of Qatar. And it is Qatar's decision to place 8 naval veterans from India on death row. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Among the 8 naval veterans, 7 of them former officers, 1 a sailor, who have been put on death row by a Qatar court, are decorated officers and highly skilled specialists. After their retirement, they were working privately with a defense consultancy firm that has since shut down. Shockingly, the Qatar government has not made public the exact nature of charges against these men. But in the last few days, the death row verdict has come, this after a year of custody for them. The Indian ambassador to Qatar has had consular access. India has said that it is deeply, deeply shocked by the verdict of a Qatar court. And in the meantime, the families of these men have met with Foreign Affairs Minister Jaishankar earlier today. Now, Qatar is also in the international news for 2 reasons: for being home to the leadership of the Hamas, and also for its mediatory role in the release of hostages taken captive by Hamas. Qatar and India have traditionally enjoyed a relationship that should not have brought an eventuality like this. How do we backpedal from this? What will happen now? Most of it will undoubtedly happen behind closed doors, and that's just fine as long as our military veterans are returned to their families safely. Let's introduce our guests, our experts on the program today as we look at this very, very sensitive story where there should be only one aim that is paramount for every Indian: to secure the release of these 8 veterans. Joining us on the program is Captain D.K. Sharma. We've known him for a long time as the face of the Indian Navy. It's good to have you, D.K. sir, on the program. Also joining us on the program is Commander K.P. Sanjeev Kumar. KP, or KPS as he tweets, has written a very, very moving piece. Some of these men are his course mates. He's been in touch with the family. He knows them personally. He's personally invested in what happens to them. And also joining us is veteran diplomat Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. It is going to depend now on the deftness of Indian diplomacy to bring these men home. Like I said, among them are decorated officers. There is an officer who won the President's Medal for being the best cadet. There is the first armed forces personnel to actually receive the Pravasi Bharatiya Saman. Many, many highly skilled men in this list of 8. Their families are choosing, understandably so, to keep a low profile. I'll start with you, Commander KP, because you wrote a very moving piece about your course mates. What are their families going through right now? And it isn't right now. This has been, happening for a year almost, and now comes the death row sentence. KP.
That's right. The verdict was pronounced on a Thursday, and then they closed down for the weekend. So shock and disbelief has now given way to, over the weekend, there was despondency, there was despair, there was panic. But the good part is that this morning I'm told that the families, all the family members, all the families and members representing each of the families, met the Foreign Affairs Minister, External Affairs Minister, and they have got relief. They have got some relief. They are assured by the topmost minister in this dealing with this crisis. But I don't know how to put it, because the families have been in and out of Doha, Qatar for the last 1 year. There was always hope, and I still say there is hope, but there was always a feeling that this is crazy. I mean, this is just unbelievable. This is going to be resolved. This can't be true. So they were holding on to that hope, and there were some reports a few weeks ago before the verdict that they could even be home for Diwali. It didn't come from any official source, but there was certain optimism which completely got shattered on Thursday, 26th of October. So if you have to ask what we are all going through collectively, one of the lowest times that we have seen as a course, as families, that we are family, right? We are all of them belong to courses, and all of them as hostmates, we are all family. So this is one of the lowest moments that we have ever faced.
I can only imagine, and you say it's one of the lowest moments that, in a way, the military family, the Fauji family, has faced. Before I come to DKS to add to that, I would like Ambassador Dayal to come in at this point. Ambassador Dayal, what's going on. Qatar and India are not hostile nations, but even if you look at Pakistan and India, which are adversarial nations, an execution, a death row sentence is a very big thing, and obviously the option of the Emir of Qatar offering pardon still exists, but there's something amiss here. There is something here that's not adding up. The fact that a court would go through with a sentence like this after a year of these veterans being in custody. Ambassador Dayal, how are you reading the tea leaves?
Barkha I don't believe that our retired naval officers have done anything of the sort of which they are being accused. I think this is a frame up, this is a conspiracy, and I suspect that Pakistan is one of the players behind it. Let me explain. Pakistan has an ISI, the intelligence service, which works very closely with the Qatari intelligence service. They worked closely in the context of reinstating the Taliban in power in Afghanistan. Qatar hosted the Doha talks. Now, Pakistan has an interest in defaming India, in giving a bad name to India. Pakistan is not at all happy with the ever closer relations which India is forging with the Gulf countries and with the Arab countries in general too. So Pakistan wants India to get a bad name. So this is one reason why Pakistan would have a vested interest in a sort of a conspiracy to frame these people. Secondly, let me also categorically state that retired Pakistani military officers have been getting placements in the Gulf countries in various positions, either as military trainers or working for firms. Now, if Indians start going and taking up those jobs, then Pakistan's retired military officers are going to have a problem. So, what is the ISI? ISI is a wing of the army. And I think for this reason also, it has tried to bring a bad name to India's retired naval officers. And as I said earlier, I don't believe at all that our naval officers have been guilty for what they are accused of. May I just add a couple of things?
Yeah.
We have our agenda for action very clear cut. Firstly, restore the morale of the families and of these arrested 8 persons. This is what we are doing currently. The External Affairs Minister met the families and we are having consular access in Doha. Secondly, we have to go on appeal. The appeals court and then the cassation court, we have to make sure that we assist our officers, retired officers, as much as possible with meeting the legal costs and fighting the case. Thirdly, and this is the most important, we have to make a strong political appeal. And this is to be done repeatedly. I mean, it has to be made clear to Qatar that we are dead serious about it and that we are not going to get the matter go. We have to take up this issue at the highest levels and make sure that our officers are released and they come back home. There are many instances of pardons being given. Generally, they are given around the time of Ramadan in the context of Eid. So that would be an opportune moment. But if it can be done earlier, so much the better. So this is a three-pronged approach we should have. And I think we are going to be doing it.
And I hadn't actually paid enough attention to what the role of Pakistan could have been in this. And it's very interesting that you joined the dots between Qatar, home to groups like the Taliban, home to groups like Hamas, the Pakistan, both retired and present military intelligence seeking benefit in a situation like this. Captain DKS, like KP Sir, you've been in touch with the larger naval community, and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal spoke about keeping the morale up. How are the families? How is the larger community keeping their morale up at this point?
Look, Barkha, they're all in shock. And let me tell you, we all were tracking this story from the last 1 year. And with so much of assurances coming out from MEA, every month this question used to be asked, and a response we have seen from the spokesperson that we are all onto it, hands on, consular access. And let me tell you that at one point in time, all our veterans were in solitary confinement. But after 6, 7 months, or maybe 8 months, they were moved to in a cell, which was a very positive development, so that the man is not alone and he is not, affected psychologically. Being alone for so much time is an issue. So once they were moved from solitary to two people in a cell, it was a very, very positive change. And then number two, the frequency of them being allowed to talk to their spouses or families also increased. That is what I have gathered. So all this was pointing towards a happy ending to the story, where none of us knew what are the charges, what is being done over there, how the case is progressing, where all have the hearings, who is representing whom, where is our defense. All this was kept, quite enclosed room. So suddenly, when you get to know that the verdict has been announced and the capital punishment has been awarded, which means that transparency lacked somewhere. Absolute opacity. Nobody knew, and suddenly you hit a wall, and now the action starts. So, but on the
Opacity by whom? By Qatar? By whom?
by opacity by the country in which all this was happening. Nothing is coming out. Nobody knows what is happening, what kind of charges are framed. And let me tell you, these people who were there, they were the cream, and they were getting contract year on year. They were not the pull-throughs. They were not, somebody who has gone with some references. They were competing with the international kind of a contract, where I have, some information that they were, the European countries fighting for this contract. There were British people who were all, feeling threatened that year on year this Dahara, through this naval officers, is getting the contract, because the feedback from the Qatari Navy was so good that this is the kind of training, and that is why our MOU existed. That all retired people who have adequate qualifications and experience of teaching in Indian premier establishments of the Navy, they were only allowed. They were not anybody who was retired from the Navy and go and teach there. Sorry, Gill was a staff college instructor. BK Verma was CI of Naval Academy. All eight of them. Purnendu Tiwari was fleet navigating officer.
Mhm.
Nagpal, Gupta, Pakala, Vashisht, all of them were the best in their lot, and they decided to take a voluntary retirement for reasons whatever. Maybe they had the family compulsions, ailing parents, I don't know what is. And thereafter, they picked up this vocation of teaching in a international company, and they're teaching to Qatari Navy. Were they ever aware that they will fall into a trap like this and get a capital punishment within 5, 7, 8 years of joining over there? It's shocking. And I'm only hopeful that, as always, that the government was dealing with this case. And now, since our naval chief also has said in the morning that they are getting the verdict copy, but it's getting transcripted back to our language. And the
Yeah.
honorable minister also in the morning has said that every avenue is being uh, exercised. Every kind of option is being exercised, and sooner than later the results will come out. But yes, it is a extreme setback. It is shocking, and it is very, very
Yeah.
difficult for the parents to overcome this kind of a shock.
Yeah, and thank you, DK sir, for actually reminding us that these are the cream of the cream of our larger naval community. And Commander KP, you have, as I said, known some of them personally. So has DKS sir. Again, the first armed forces veteran to get a Pravasi Bharatiya Saman. I think we have that image of him, Commander Purnendu Tiwari, there, receiving that honor. Staff college sort of instructors. Let's talk a little bit about this Dahara Global. This Dahara Global company, a defense consultancy, looking at the induction of submarines that all of these eight men were privately employed with. The company has since shut down. What are you able to make out of what's happening? Do you agree with Ambassador Dayal that there is some other country's vested interest here, most likely Pakistan?
So certainly, I mean, I have a point to make, and then I'll answer your question. See, if you rewind about 15 years ago, this space that Dahara Global occupied was it was vacant, right? And there were a lot of people from nationalities like Pakistan, Bahrain. They were in the space. They were working on their contracts. They were working on their ships, and there were a lot of these people working in various capacities in their Qatari military establishment. Commander Purnindu Tiwari had successfully started this enterprise initially in Singapore. It was a successful, training wing that he started there. And a coincidence of wants, perhaps sometime around, I think, 2006 to 2010 time frame, when there was this gap waiting to be filled in Qatar. And Qatar, see, you cannot get into these spaces without their own government's approval. So I think at that time, if I recall, there was a request placed by the Qatar Emiri Naval Force that please train our people, please set up some of these facilities here. And they wanted us to do it, India to do it. Now, for whatever reason, why the Navy did not occupy that or fill that gap, or why the MOD did not act to fill that gap, I don't know. But because of this coincidence of wants, and because Commander Tiwari already had a successful model up and standing in Singapore, he went over there, and the Omani CEO who was there is also ex Omani Air Force, and together they build this brick by brick. That is my understanding, and I'm telling it from my personal experience, and I would second whatever Captain D.K. Sharma said and Ambassador Dayal said, that if we had not taken up this space, somebody else would have. And they have done a very good job. They have not just muddled around. They have. It was an instant success to the extent that over the last 10 years, I think, to my knowledge, almost 75 to 80 officers have and naval personnel have gone and found employment there. And you cannot be training without having a very intimate bond with the trainees, with the officers. And the training that they were conducting were purely at the junior level, at the sub-lieutenant courses level, at the long course level. To my understanding, to my knowledge, there is absolutely nothing that they had to do at all with any submarine project, leave alone a classified one. Okay, so I don't know from where this has come out. This kind of a
so you think the media reports that this is connected to some submarine project are false?
I absolutely reject it based on my reading, because
Very important.
there is not a single official version that even points towards espionage. Right now, when you do not have information, misinformation will fill that space. So this is a very malicious packet that has been rotated around in this circles by our adversaries. And now, once this comes, then it is the most easiest conclusion for anybody to fall to. I'm saying there was simply training at the sub-lieutenants, at the sailors, at the maximum at the long courses level. They were setting up those training establishments. They were training them, watchkeeping duties, navigation, gunnery. There is absolutely nothing to do with induction, acquisition of any platform or any submarine. So I don't know from where this is found, and I would use this platform to kindly request people on. At least on our side, we have no control over people across the border. But at least our own people should stop speculating on this. We should completely drop this. There is no
absolutely,
and it will be grave disservice to these people. The only reason why the families were able to manage the last 1 year is because they were living on these assurances, and they were 100% convinced that their husbands have, since they've done nothing wrong, they will come back. Their family members will come back. If you allow these kind of malicious packets to propagate, then we'll be left,
yes.
With a different set of challenges.
That's extremely important, and I want Ambassador Dayal to come in at this point. A year has passed. Is there anything to the timing? I take KP sir's point to not be conspiratorial, and I don't want to do anything that in any way endangers the safety of our veterans. But I'm looking at Qatar being in the headlines for other reasons, right? One of the two countries in the world to have supported Hamas after its terror attack on Israel, now involved in the mediation. The Americans are suddenly thanking Hamas. The British are suddenly thanking, I beg your pardon, thanking Qatar for its role in the release of the hostages. The British Prime Minister is thanking Qatar. Qatar is sitting pretty right now, flexing its muscle. Is there anything to the timing? Is it purely coincidental that its role in this Israel-Hamas sort of global story and what's happened now with our men? Ambassador Dayal.
Well, I certainly agree with you that there could be a geopolitical aspect to the entire thing because of the timing of this entire episode. As you said, Qatar has a proximity to Hamas. And, it has used this proximity to get some hostages released. But for the very same reason, having to do with its proximity to Hamas, I don't think that Qatar is too happy with India getting closer to Israel. At least this is what many Arab countries think. They think that India is now distancing itself from them, that is the Arab countries, and becoming closer to Israel. The recent vote in the UN General Assembly, where we abstained on the Arab-sponsored resolution, is perhaps a sort of case in point, which would perhaps lead them to think that India is distancing itself from its earlier position in regard to the Palestinian question. So there would be certain reasons which could impel Qatar to put pressure on us. Look, this whole thing could be an exercise of exerting pressure on the Indian government to rethink proximity to Israel, to reevaluate its position in regard to the Palestinian question. Also, there would be a certain Pakistani interest, which I mentioned earlier. Pakistan is not at all happy with the growing closeness between India and many Arab countries, in particular with the Gulf countries, India and Saudi Arabia, India and UAE, India and Oman, even India and Qatar. The closeness was never witnessed earlier as it is being witnessed now. And would Pakistan be happy with that? Certainly not. Because Pakistan has always considered the Gulf as a sort of area of its influence, an area where it has greater say and enjoys greater appreciation than India does. So Pakistan certainly is not happy. So there is a lot of geopolitics, and that has perhaps led to this conspiracy, as my two co-panelists have said. It is unbelievable. It is unthinkable that our retired naval officers would have been guilty of anything for which they would get a death sentence each. So, in a nutshell, there is something totally wrong, there is something amiss, and the government of India has to exert the utmost pressure to get our innocent naval officers, I repeat, innocent naval officers, out of this mess and bring them back to India.
Captain D.K. Sharma, it is, as you said, a terrible setback. You remind us that the veterans had been initially placed in solitary confinement. It's been a year. In your understanding, have the families been able to talk to their loved ones regularly, or not even that?
Yes, yes, that was facilitated by the government of India, the consular access, and then talking. And two of the families are there only. Two of the
Right.
families, I believe, are there only, and they meet once a week or something. All that is fine. But getting into a situation like this unknowingly, you see, where have we reached? Last year, it was okay for investigation. They have been picked up. Then consular access started. There was no indication that the case is heading towards this side. And I want to bring in another point. Barkha, let me tell you, submarine thing. No, all of them are ex-officers. Two are technical officers. None of them is a submariner. And let me tell you, KPS is here and he will vouch for it. Submarine is such a complex thing. Until unless you belong to it, you know nothing about it. So insofar as going over there and doing something and passing left, right, and center, all these are cooked up stories, and all these are now, as KPS brought out, because there is lack of information, disinformation, misinformation, everything is filling the gap. So it's best that the official statements to be, we should only rely on that, because none of us know it. Now the speculative stories, or you are connecting the dots that Hamas, Pakistan, ISI, all this is only going to create a lot of doubt in the minds of the families, that where are we heading towards. Over there, they were just as a second carrier. They have gone there to earn their bread and butter. And where have they landed? I mean, say one has to have some sense. All this geopolitical compulsions and all this has only started from 7th October. Our guys are there from last 38th August. All this was not talked about then. Suddenly, why are we bringing all these things into it? We have to handle
Ambassador, do
this
you want to
case.
take that? I like DK complete his point, and then Ambassador can respond. Yes, sir. I think people are trying to understand the timing. ये कैसे हुआ, क्यों हुआ? Yeah, the death row sentence. I mean, I don't mean the imprisonment. That obviously happened a year ago.
Barkha, that is
Captain
what I'm
DK's.
saying. That
Yes.
the hearings have been happening from the last 6 7 months, and nothing was pointing that the case is going this side. You see, there is a defendant, there is prosecution. Things come out from there. The
Yes.
defendants who are meeting the accused, so-called accused, and the accused is having access to his close people once a week. So there will be an indication that where it is heading and where we need to bring in better legal help. Nothing like this happened. And
Yeah.
you see the statement of MEA in a shocking development. These two words, take the rug
But
below.
but he but you know that statement, Ambassador Dayal, also referenced a certain confidentiality that is needed, right? I think we must talk about that. And DKS sir says, why are we bringing geopolitics into it? It's only going to add in a way to the confusion and the panic among the families. If you wanted to briefly respond to that, and then I'll give the last word to KP sir.
Well, I brought in the geopolitical aspect because the charges against these 8 officers were never made known to them. There is such a hush hush sort of a atmosphere. Nothing has been made known. There are no tangible charges. There are no believable charges. The whole thing is a cooked up conspiracy. And by the way, India's proximity to Israel is not something that happened after 7th October. Many of the Arab countries have been feeling that India has been drawing steadily closer to Israel since a pretty long time. And there is a degree of disenchantment. So, geopolitics, it can never be ignored. There are no tangible, there are no credible charges against these 8 naval officers. I don't think they have been told what the charges are. The government of India has not been told. So what is happening? There is a conspiracy, and I repeat what I said, that there are many factors which could be responsible for this conspiracy.
Commander KP Sanjeev Kumar, the last word to you. Obviously, the priority for the country is to do what it takes to bring these men home to safety. But Captain DKS says, let's keep it simple. Let's keep the speculation away. For 1 year, actually, only some of us did programs, and the story went silent. And maybe everybody in that silence thought the ending would be happy. We're not there yet at all. Your last thoughts, KP.
Yeah, I'm afraid a lot of odds are stacked against these 8 personnel, and the reason that, I mean, we lost about a year because the World Cup happened in between. Initially, all of us went quiet because we let the legal process run its course. When the World Cup happened, everybody got after that, and then maybe Qatar themselves got busy with that. Towards the beginning, the first part of this year, till then they were getting salaries. All the people who were incarcerated, they were still being given their salaries, which is a very benevolent step that the company took. So all this had lulled us into believing that things are going to get diffused, right? So unfortunately, now this has come as a complete shocker, and speculation about and adding different angles to it, totally speculative angles to it, is, I think, to my mind, is going to completely be damaging to this case. I think the only agency that can diffuse it now or can deal with it, as Ambassador would agree, is the government of India at the topmost level. Because once, unfortunately, in these countries, once a charge of espionage is made out, even I do not know what are the charges, but if a charge of espionage or something like that is made out, then you're heading for the big one. So we must support the government. The government has assured the families today. It is the first time after 14 months that the External Affairs Minister has personally met the families. Till now, they were meeting the Minister of State or the Joint Secretary or the Ambassador at Doha.
Yes.
Today, he has met them. He has assured them, and my information is that they are all quite satisfied with the assurance that has been given to them, and they have been given the assurance that the government is going to do what it takes. And if you read Dr. Jaishankar's tweet, he has pointed out to that we'll try to secure their release. I think the only way it works is to secure their release, a complete unconditional pardon. And if it requires us to put a very a passionate plea to the Emir, 18th of December is the golden opportunity. It's Qatar National Day. We are friends, we are brothers. We have been doing a great work for them. Our men have been doing a great yeoman service to their armed forces, it should not end this way. It's just my request that we do not allow speculation to run riot, and we diffuse it at the highest level.
It cannot end this way. It must not end this way. And whatever it takes, it has to not end this way. With prayers and strength to the families, I cannot even imagine what they're going through and have been going through for the last year. Thank you very much to Commander KP, Captain BKS, and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. We will continue to follow this story as responsibly and sensitively as we can, of course, with the paramount priority being not journalistic, but the safety of these men. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and to our audience. Thank you for watching. See you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.